Hi there. Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 7 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. How to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. I think that's important because until we have clarity, it's hard to access our confidence. Until we have clarity and confidence, it's hard to access our creativity. It all starts with clarity. That's why I love today's topic, the fake news part of the brain. You know, fake news has been in the news a lot recently, right? Especially around politics. Turns out that people have been writing some things that are totally untrue, but got millions of hits, and they made a pretty nice chunk of change, all that. And this didn't happen from just one side of the political spectrum. It was really on both sides. So what would make people buy into something that just seems so ridiculous? I think it's 2 things, and I think it has something to do also with how we find ourselves dealing with life on a regular basis. Let's look at that a little closer. For those of you who follow my Life from the Top of the Mind philosophy, you know this has to do with how the brain processes information, right? Got the lower part of the brain, the brainstem, the fight or flight part of the brain. Got that middle part of the brain, the gatekeeper, limbic system, the scanner, processor, router part of the brain. And then the upper 80% of the brain, the neocortex, where we have access to our clarity, confidence, creativity, interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, compassion, etc. So here's what's going on. This limbic system, this middle part of the brain, its job has been to keep us safe in dangerous situations. And so it has a tendency to look for danger in almost every situation so that it keeps us safe from it. So obviously if someone's coming at you with a gun, that's not fake news. You need to run away from that. If you're driving down the freeway the wrong way, that's not fake news. You need to do something about that. But what about, let's assume we lose something and we go, oh man, I've lost this, it's going to be terrible. And we go into this frustration and stress and anger, whose fault was it? And then we find it. Oh. Or we have something wrong with our body. We go, oh God, it's got to be cancer, I got a brain tumor. And we go into this terrible perspective on what's wrong with us. And then we find out, no, it's really not that big a deal. See, what's going on is the limbic system is interpreting this original data as threatening, dangerous, problematic, when it may or may not be. And it's stirring us into the part of the brain where we either have to fight or flee. But have you noticed a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with that we see as problematic, we can't fight and we can't run away from. So what that does is it paralyzes us. It has us feeling powerless. It has us in that lower part of the brain where we just produce more anxiety, more stress, more frustration, more anger, more resentment, more depression. So what I think we've got to do is stop trusting this middle part of the brain to determine what is fake and what is true. Because it will have a tendency to overinterpret news as dangerous when it really isn't. I think what we've got to do is have that limbic system send it up to the neocortex so this clear, confident, creative, wise part of who we are can look at this and say, okay, what's really going on here? How do I want to deal with this? Part of this has to do with how we want to live our life. You know, one of the things I really encourage people to do when they're wanting to become more purposeful, more powerful, more influential in their life and the lives of others is get really clear what that looks like. Who am I when I am purposeful and powerful? What are the qualities and characteristics that I possess that when I draw upon, I am successful, I am happy, I am productive, I am in the flow, I am being who I am in a way that is creating the life I want? You know, again, that's confidence, that's clarity, that's creativity, that's kindness, that's assertiveness, that's being influential, that's being a good listener, that's being curious, a lot of wonderful qualities. So if we get really clear, that's who I want to be, that's what allows me to be successful in life, then we can say, okay, so if I were being that way with this news, if I were looking at this news, this information that's coming in that my limbic system has a tendency to react to and go, wait a minute, is this really something I want to react to from a fight or flight perspective? Or is it something I want to do some research on? Or is it something I just want to wait and find out, is it truly a problem? I tell the story in my seminars where 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago I found something growing under my hairline. And I was getting a haircut and my person who's cutting my hair went, Bill, this is a real problem. You need to have this checked out. This looks bad. So you feel the cortisol and the adrenaline, the noradrenaline, the limbic system goes, oh crap, because I've had some issues with skin cancer before, so I think I know what that's like. So I went, okay, hold on. So I called up MD Anderson, because I do a lot of work with MD Anderson here in Houston, and they got me in, but they wouldn't be able to get me in for like 3 weeks. So I've got 3 weeks to find out, is this really a problem or not a problem? Right now, I don't know. So what I decided to do is assume that it wasn't a problem until I found out that it was. Because assuming that it was a problem put me in this reactive mode. And there was nothing I could do about it. So I said, okay, when you get to the doctor in 3 weeks, he or she's going to say, yep, this is a problem, here's what we need to do about it. Or, nope, it's one of those things that you get when you get to be 65 years old, no big deal. Choosing to wait until I found out the information, accessing this wise, clear, confident, creative part of who I am was so helpful, because I could go, okay, let me find out. But until then, here's how I want to interpret this. See, that's the key. The limbic system is always interpreting things based on its fear and its worry and its perception of danger. If we step in and alter that interpretation in a way that fits with our highest purpose, in a way that fits with the qualities and characteristics we want to bring to life, in a way that fits with what we would recommend to someone we love, we can begin to use this clear, confident, wise part of who we are to train the limbic system to hold off on its interpretation, or just not trust that original knee-jerk reaction. Go to the neocortex, determine, wait a minute, here's how I want to look at this. Now, this isn't about ignoring things, right? This isn't about what's called Pollyanna optimism. Everything's going to be great, it's just fine. There's a person by the name of Martin Seligman, wrote a book called Realistic Optimism. He talked about the difference between Pollyanna optimism and realistic optimism. Realistic optimism comes from this clear, confident, creative, purposeful part of the brain, not this old reactive, stressed, frustrated, angry, resentful, frightened part of the brain. So if we can begin to influence how this scanner, processor, router interprets data, or when we find ourselves going into that lower part of the brain, go, wait a minute, here's what I want to do, here's how I want to be, here's how I want to interpret this. Let's see if we get some information here. Let's make sure we're bringing all of our ability to know exactly what's going on here before we go to that conclusion. I think you're going to be finding you won't be trusting that fake news part of the brain. You won't be letting that limbic system throw you into stress or frustration or anger or resentment or worry or depression, that fight or flight response. And I think you'll find yourself creating your life in a way that you would recommend to someone you love. I hope you're finding these videos valuable. I'm having a great time bringing them to you. If so, please hit the like button. You know, we love it when you like it. Share it with your friends if so. If you want me to come and do a workshop at your organization around how to train this limbic system to make sure it's interpreting data in a way that we would recommend to someone we love, that clear, confident, creative way, go to my website, BillCrawfordPhD.com, hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in, and I'd love to talk with you about that. In the meantime, here's to you, bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do. Coming from that clear, confident, creative part of the brain. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.